Hi, I'm Bethany, a gal who travels and a travel advisor. I visited over 50 countries and counting, mostly by ship. I also happen to book cruises for a living. So you're getting the here's what actually happens version of this trip, not the brochure version. This week's Wednesday wandering, Rio de Janeiro, right in the middle of Carnival. 2.5 days, 1 port call, and the biggest party on the planet happening a few blocks from the ship the entire time. Fair warning, this one has a lot of Portuguese place names, and I'm gonna butcher at least a few of them, so bear with me. First stop of the day, the Catedral Metropolitana de São Sebastião, Rio's Metropolitan Cathedral. If you're picturing spires and stained glass in tidy little windows, recalibrate. This is a concrete cone built between 1964 and 1979. Some people compare it to a beehive. I'm not going to argue with them. The interior is where it earns its keep. 4 massive stained glass windows run floor to ceiling, meeting at the top in a cross-shaped skylight. Tucked inside, almost as an afterthought, the ceremonial carriage once used for São Sebastião processions. Next up, Sugarloaf Mountain, or Pau de Açúcar in Portuguese. The name comes from the sugar trade era, when refined sugar was molded into cone shapes for shipping. The cable car opened up in 1912. Third cable car ever built anywhere in the world. First one in Brazil. The trip happens in 2 stages. First car takes you up to a lower hill with its own overlook. Second car continues on to the summit. From the top, Botafogo Bay, the curve of Copacabana, Guanabara Bay, the whole Rio skyline, and on a clear enough day, a hazy outline of Christ the Redeemer in the distance. That last one felt like a preview of what was coming 2 days later. On the way back from Sugarloaf, we ran straight into the largest blocos of the day. A bloco is basically a street party built around a band moving through the neighborhood, completely separate from the official Sambódromo parade. While we'd been busy with the cathedral and Sugarloaf, the locals had gathered by the thousands, packed wall-to-wall in parks and on street corners, lost in the music. We finally made it back to the ship around 1:30, but the energy hadn't let up. From my balcony, the crowd around the cruise terminal was its own kind of spectacle. Mardi Gras, Pride, Coachella, all rolled into one. Back on the ship that afternoon, I napped, on purpose this time. The Sambódromo was gonna need it. That night, the special group parade. 6 samba schools, Sector 9 seats, confetti and fireworks, and a sea of sequins that did not let up for hours. I made it through 4 schools before catching the 3:15 a.m. shuttle back to the ship. 2 more were still going when I left. This night gets its own full video, coming soon. For now, just know it's the reason the next day looked like it did. Day 2 in Rio had exactly one job: recovery. I got back to the ship around 4:30 a.m. to find a plate of sandwiches, fruit, and a cookie waiting in my cabin, courtesy of my stateroom attendant. I ate every bite of it before finally falling asleep sometime after 5 a.m. I spent the rest of the day relaxing on the ship, mostly on the balcony, watching the Rio skyline from a safe and horizontal distance. At one point, the captain blew the ship's horn and sent the crowd on the pier into a full roar. I thought about getting up and joining them. Then I looked at my balcony chair, looked at the door, and stayed exactly where I was. Coffee and cake at the Mosaic Cafe qualified as the day's main event for me, and I regret nothing about that. On to day 3. This time, Christ the Redeemer, reached by the Corcovado Rack Railway. Corcovado, by the way, translates to hunchback. The whole route runs through Tijuca National Park, one of the largest urban forests in the world. So the ride up is as much a jungle canopy tour as it is transportation. This cog train has been running since 1884, nearly 50 years before the statue itself existed. Originally steam-powered, electrified in 1910. And it's the very same railway used to haul construction materials up the mountain when the statue was being built between 1922 and 1931. At the summit, Guanabara Bay, the lagoon, the same Sugarloaf and Botafogo panorama from 2 days earlier. but now from the opposite direction, and the curve of Copacabana laid out below. Botafogo, incidentally, means set it on fire. Rio really doesn't do subtle nicknames. And then the statue itself. Somehow both exactly what you expect and still bigger in person. Crowds gather at the base for the low-angle shots, and these crowds were thick, shoulder to shoulder, waiting for a gap in someone else's photo before you can get yours. I got mine eventually. Everyone gets theirs, eventually. From Corcovado, a brief stop at Ipanema Beach on the way back to the ship. Of course, I had the girl from Ipanema stuck in my head the entire time. Even a brief stretch of quieter shoreline was enough to notice how different this beach feels from the postcard version everyone already has in their head. I had just enough time for a short stroll along the sidewalk and a selfie with the Twin Peaks framing the background. That wave pattern sidewalk isn't a Rio invention, by the way. It's calçada portuguesa, the same black and white stone technique used across Lisbon, brought over by Portuguese pavers in the early 1900s. I'd been in Lisbon the summer before. Walking this sidewalk felt like running into an old friend in a completely different city. Next, Copacabana Beach got the drive-by treatment. And yes, Barry Manilow was fully cued in my head before we even turned the corner. A miniature sand sculpture of the beach itself, complete with tiny flags and an even tinier Christ statue. Palm trees lined up the whole way down, Copacabana's curves stretching out behind them. I kept half an eye out for Lola and Tony. No luck. Consider this the honorable mention section. Rio wrapped up with a sail away under full sun. Warm but not hot. Celebratory drink in hand, I watched the ship pull out of Guanabara Bay. Sugarloaf and Christ the Redeemer both visible one final time. It also happened to be Shrove Tuesday. Azamara marked the occasion with an elaborate pancake and crepe luncheon spread out on the pool deck. A fitting way to close out a trip that started with carnival crowds and ended with a very literal Fat Tuesday. A concrete cathedral to Sugarloaf Mountain. A parade night I'm still recovering from. A rest day I earned. Christ the Redeemer. 2 beaches. And a sail away past it all. 2.5 days in Rio. Too fast, too crowded, and somehow still the kind of trip I'd take again in a heartbeat. If you want to see more of what actually happens on a cruise, hit subscribe. Next week, Torshone in the Faroe Islands.